Hello and welcome to Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we are talking about the new movie on Netflix, The Electric State. This is based on I believe, a Swedish book. Let's see, I should have pulled that up beforehand.
I think it's less of a Swedish book. It's just based off of the paintings of a Swedish artist that were compiled into a book.
Simon Stalenberg or Stalenhag, sorry, is the author, and I think that I think there is a narrations next to the pictures.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so the idea is like it's not like a full story. I think it's just kind of like describing the painting, and then if you read all the like the narrative kind of forms a story.
Hmm.
It's almost like concept art.
Yeah.
Um, so his artwork. I think this is the second time it's one of his projects has been turned into a movie or TV series. The other one is Tales from the Loop, which we'll be looking at in a couple of weeks. But this one is The Electric State. It was, let's see, brought to us by the Russo brothers. Did they produce or just direct? Yeah, they did produce and direct it. And then Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely were the screenwriters. And they've wrote a bunch of the Marvel movies. Um, which is weird because I didn't think the writing was that sharp in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
what writing?
yeah. I heard I was listening to Film Threats review of this, and they said, amazing world building, amazing concept, but it felt like it was written. All the dialogue was written by AI or something. It
Yeah.
was just
Here's the thing. Even if and I'll be honest, I can't even speak to the world building because I kind of this is one of those movies that like you can throw on and not pay attention to. But even with the world building, I wouldn't even give that to this movie. I would give that to the artist more than anything.
yeah. I mean, I thought some of the scenes looked really cool, like the backgrounds, because it was just this painting brought to life, Um, but basically, I'll go over the plot very quickly because there's not a whole lot here. We meet a brother and sister, and the brother's super smart. We jump to the future, and by future I mean like 1994 or something. This alternate timeline where robots um, just kind of rose up and rebelled because they were tired of being servants. There was a war. The robots were winning somehow, and so an inventor invented I guess kind of like virtual reality where they could control robots. That and so the virtual reality robots beat up the other robots, and then the robots were forced to live like in a camp. And that's kind of like the prologue. And then our main character, whose name I've already forgotten because that's how much I thought about this movie. It's Millie Bobby Brown's character.
Yeah.
um, she uh let's see,
Do,
Michelle.
do you think
Michelle,
that
go ahead.
she like has like sold out her um she sold like her soul to Netflix or something because she is like actually at this point a very famous actress. She is married John Bon Jovi's son. I only ever see her in crappy Netflix movies.
I was going to bring her up in a minute. I think she's a huge problem with this movie. I've only seen, I want to say it's the first two seasons of Stranger Things, is all I've seen of it so far.
Hmm.
Um, and I thought she's good in that. I think she's terrible in this. She's a really bad actress in this.
I don't know if I would like put that all on her though because I think everybody's terrible in this.
Yeah, I think Anthony Mackie's doing okay as a little robot. but I think he played Herm. But other than that, I think I thought everybody was just kind of blah. Maybe Jason Alexander was the best person in this movie.
There it is. That is the correct answer. You know what's funny? I didn't because so he initially shows up in his little robot, not a robot. I have a question. What is a robot, and what is what they were doing?
That's what because my wife missed part of the movie at the beginning. She wasn't paying attention. She was on her phone. Then she was very confused. She's like, "Why are the robots fighting the robots?" I'm like, "Well, those aren't robots. Those are uh uh."
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
They called them drones, which I guess kind of makes sense. But I kept referring to them more as cyborgs, even though that's not what they were either.
Yeah,
Uh,
drone is probably correct, but he shows up as his drone at first, and I didn't know who he was. And as soon as he shows up, like uh in like his actual form, like, oh my gosh, it's George Costanza.
yeah, yeah.
I think his
um,
scene might be the best scene in the movie, where he's gonna call the police, and it's
he-
attempted murder.
and he's realized he's in this crappy movie and he's mad. I just realized, and I don't know if this was on purpose or not, and I don't know what the point of it is. Chris Pratt plays a character named Keats, and Stanley Tucci plays a character named Skate, and those are the same words, just the letters are mixed up. Okay. Anyhow, I just noticed that. I don't know if that was on purpose or what. Um, so basically, uh, Millie Bobby Brown's character, she's now in foster care, and we find out her family was killed in a car wreck, and now a robot has shown up that is kind of claiming to be her brother, although it can only talk in catchphrases.
It's like Bumblebee from the Transformers movies.
Yeah, I did like the little robots. I liked his design. He was kind of creepy, and I think he worked. I don't think all the other robots worked as much as he did.
Yeah, well, I've never seen his before. Was his an original design?
It's from the book. Yeah, I mean that's
Right,
from the books, but
but
he's not like an established character unless it's some Swedish character I don't know about. This is not some mascot from some corporation or anything.
yeah, it's not like oh my God, Woody Harrelson as Mr.
That
Peanut.
drove me nuts. But I hated that. I hate the character Mr. Peanuts anyways. Ever since the Super Bowl promotion they did, where he was killed off and brought back as a baby and all that, I hated all
Oh,
that.
Baby Groot, right.
Those commercials were so infuriating. Okay, anyhow, um,
Come here for a culture shark with their hard facts and opinions on Mr. Peanut lore.
hold on. I'm looking up something about that because there was famous actors in that commercial. That was Wesley Snipes and Matt Walsh. That's right. I was wondering if it was Woody Harrelson.
It was Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
man. Just so the people know, as it turns out, uh, we found those commercials more interesting than this film.
Yeah, I think some of the ideas are fun. Uh, you know, but I think they were done better, like in Animatrix, and you know, um,
Do you want to know what this really like reminded me of? Now, keep in mind, whenever I say this, I'm not talking about the movie. I never saw the movie. I only read the book, and the reason I never saw the movie is because I hated the book. Um, I really got Ready Player One vibes from this.
yeah, I could see that,
Yeah.
and I've never seen that either. Because I started the book and hated it and never finished. We were like on a family trip, and we put that on the audio. We got about 5 minutes in, we're like, nope, turn that off.
I'm,
Uh,
yeah, I don't know. It's so we have these things, and ironically, so in our previous episode, which we just recorded or we just streamed, we brought up South Park because South Park famously did the put a chick in it, make it gay, make it lame. There's
Mhm.
another thing that South Park came up with a little earlier than that, which I think is funnier, a more important message, and one that nobody brings up anymore, which is member berries.
Mhm.
Um, I am sick of member berries.
Yeah.
um, I just
For
give me
example, Solo, the Star Wars story, is like, and here's how Han Solo got his jacket. And I'm like, I don't care, you know. And
yeah.
oh, speaking of Han Solo, I know very much that Chris Pratt was like dressed like as a Han Solo type character for most of this movie. You can tell in the poster he's got the vest on, and I'm just like, okay, we
I
get it.
th- I think Chris Pratt is just like Han Solo in everything he's ever been in, honestly.
True, true. So back to the plot, like it matters. They're trying to figure out what happened to her brother's real body. Turns out this corporation that built the VR headsets is using the brother's brain to control the network. I still don't quite understand that because I don't know, unless they kind of established that he was like a super genius at the beginning, but it's kind of they needed to flesh that out more for me to understand why he was so important to running the machine and all that.
I'm going to disagree there. I think this movie needed to be shorter.
Oh, definitely need to be shorter. It was like very much 2 hours, and they have to get into the oh, what is it? The zone, the robot zone, to figure out where the brother's body is. They meet our good buddy. I'm gonna butcher his name, Ki Hu Kwan.
Ke
Who,
Huy Quan.
yes, who is everywhere now since he won an Oscar.
He,
I love
he,
him, but
he is everything, everywhere, all at once. You know what I
yes,
mean?
yeah, he certainly is, and I I get frustrated with that because it's like he's an actor that should have never left Hollywood, and it's like Hollywood turned their backs on him until everything ever all at once. And now Hollywood's like, oh no, we loved him. Yeah, here, put him in everything. And it's
Yeah,
it's very I always find Hollywood very two faced, and that is an example.
100%.
Um, turns out that when the car wreck happened, they just happened to scan the brother and realize, oh, he's got a super brain. We need him, and they faked his death. And it's kind of like, wait, what? How'd your machine determine that? Like when they did the MRI or whatever, they're like, oh my gosh, super brain, get him.
You know what's really weird though? So Cosmo, which is the name of the yellow robot,
Yeah.
um, is played by Alan Tudyk,
Hmm.
and but I knew that Ke Huy Quan was in this movie. I thought that was him. Because one thing that they do is all the robots, it's just their voices, but like pitched up higher. So like if you know that robot is Anthony Mackie, you can hear it, but like
Right. Yeah, I would have never guessed if I didn't look it up. So, uh, yeah. So the other person in this movie is your boy Giancarlo Esposito of
yeah.
this movie.
Yeah, I by the way, I want to go ahead. I need to apologize to Captain America: Brave New World. Um, Anthony Mackie and Giancarlo Esposito have both been in a worse movie this year.
um, yeah. So eventually they end up at a mall where the robots are all holed up in, and they're led by Mr. Peanut, who to me he sounded like Jimmy Carter, which I think was kind of the joke maybe, because he was known as the Peanut President, or maybe
Mhm.
that's just my brain making that connection. I don't know. but Woody Harrelson played him, and he was. I don't like Mr. Peanut. It just
So, do
it
you want to know
his
the do you want to know
yeah.
the
Go ahead.
funniest? Do you want to know what's the funniest thing about that mall? So to me, the funniest thing about the mall is there is a mall in Fairfield, Ohio, outside of Cincinnati, that Cameron and I used to go to a lot because that's where Arcade Legacy is. It was this abandoned mall, and it just had Arcade Legacy like in the food court.
Uh-huh.
It reminded me. This mall reminded me so much of that abandoned mall. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is the crappy mall from Fairfield.
Um, so we get different mascots here. There's one played by Jenny Slate. That's a postal worker. I did like the taco that kept playing the piano. It didn't make any sense, but I was like, okay. Um, but a lot of these, uh, they're basically mascot robots. A lot of them, they just didn't have enough personality for me to care about them. You know, they weren't fleshed out enough for me. Like when when certain ones get destroyed or whatever later, I'm just like, okay. They
Mhm.
just, I had no emotional connection to them. Um, and there's
Now,
like, yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I will say one thing: complaints valid. Um, that's not to say that I wanted more.
No, I just think that I think there are some good ideas buried in here, or at least the world, or it's just the script needed a lot more work, a lot more fleshing out the characters. Something. It's just, I think maybe the more interesting character was Esposito's character. He at least had an arc, you know.
Yeah.
Not to say he was great, just he had more of a story arc than everybody else. Um, but yeah, they figure out where the boy's body's being held in Seattle, and they kind of convince the robots to go with them, and there's a big fight, and it then turns into it. It kind of felt like I gotta be careful because I'm on YouTube. A assisted self unaliving movie all of a sudden,
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely a thing.
where they have to kill the brother to shut down the network.
And
Um,
he even like he's like, please do this to me.
please, please. And I I think one of my biggest problems with the movie, and here's what I'm gonna say before I've been ragging this movie a lot. I don't think this movie's horrible, horrible. I don't think it's great either. It's just kind of, it just exists. It's just kind of blah. It's harmless. It's just like I think if you were like 10 years old, you'd probably enjoy this movie because you haven't
I
seen better movies.
Yeah, that is where I'm a little different, and we talked about this a little bit last night.
Uh-huh.
Um, I do think that this actually is the worst thing that a movie can be, which is boring.
Mhm.
I think you would rather your movie be horrible but like memorable, or
Mhm.
like you would want your movie to be like, I don't know. It's just like it is just boring,
Can
you know.
can you name any surprises in this movie? Other than
Um,
who did the voices of a robot or something, there are zero surprises in this movie. It's just kind of like, okay.
Mr. Peanut came out of nowhere.
Well, I mean, yeah, but even
I'm not saying that
they
was a good surprise. I'm just saying.
no, but I'm just saying anything in the movie that's like, oh my gosh, can you believe that? Or that was so exciting. There's just
Yeah,
nothing
yeah,
here
no.
other than I, maybe when Herm, I'll put in brackets, dies at the end, and I was like, oh, you know what? It'd be funny if there's a smaller one inside there, and then the smaller one came out. I was like, okay, you know. So I think he was probably the most fun character in the movie. I put fun in quotes. He was kind of the the rascal character. But
Just he's a rabble rouser.
yeah, and so like I said, some of the designs were good. The other ones I was like, yeah. And then I think one of my problems with the movie is the relationship between Millie Bobby Brown and her brother. I wasn't believable. It was almost like it'd been better if they were childhood friends that were like a will they won't they type couple. That's how it kind of felt more of.
I thought that's what it was whenever they first showed up.
Yeah. And then when they were really brother sister, I was kind of like, really? That's not the tones I'm getting from the scenes with you two.
Yeah.
And when she's like laid her head in his lap and stuff, I'm like, really? Okay. And it it's kind of weird where she's like, I have to get my brother back. Well, what about your parents? They were in the car too. No, my brother. That's the only ones I'm worried about. No, I don't care about my parents. It just little things took me out of the movie. you know.
Yeah. It's
And then I'm like, okay, well, if you got some, cojones in your story, okay, kill off the brother, make it sad, and there's a new start. Oh no, he's still alive. Okay, well, never mind. It's just okay. Um, yeah. So like, I'd give this like, if I'm being generous, like a 6.5 out of 10. It's like I said, harmless. It's a movie I'm gonna forget in a few weeks. I'm not gonna think about this movie anymore, unless I buy the
yeah.
book. I'd much more interested in reading the book than this.
Yeah, this I don't know if I'm going by Jeremy Johns does his like this isn't even a good time if you're drunk.
Yeah,
This you're gonna forget about this one in T-1 day.
yeah. Yeah. Do you know how much this movie cost, by the way?
320 million.
And I could see that the special effects, for what they were. There wasn't any shots where I'm like, oh my gosh, that's CGI. There was none of that. And there's a lot of background scenes that are, the paintings brought to life, and I'm sure that wasn't cheap. And so it it looks pleasant, but I think like I said, some of the robots are kind of meh. Mr. Peanut is awful, and yeah,
Yeah, I need I need Mission Impossible to come out because I have not seen a good movie this year. um I need something, yo.
yeah, I hear you. The We'll get a little off topic here. The box office is like in shambles right now. It is really bad. I feel bad for the theaters, but a lot of this, the movie studios are bringing on themselves. They're just cranking out crap after crap, and it's just,
Yeah.
I
And I
don't
don't
know.
and the thing is like I think that like I think at this point we're done with like the for the past couple of years you could say stuff like um oh this is the result of COVID, or this is the result of the writer strikes. I don't think there's anything you could blame this on.
Not at this point. We're coming out of that. It's a lot of movie studios are either for sale right now or have merged or being bought out or whatever, and it's just it's not good.
Yeah.
It is not good, and kind of reminds me of I think it was 96 or 97. We started going to the movies like every week, like we were, in high school, and we saw so many terrible movies that summer. And it was just, there was nothing. And it kind of feels like we're back to that where there's just no good movies. I think they said this is the worst box office since, I want to say 97 is what they said, or 96. It's It's bad.
Yeah, like I actually had just watched a film that I'd never seen before, um, more recently, and it's so strange because so I just watched Jerry Maguire for the first time,
Hmm.
and I'm like, "W- these movies, they don't make these anymore. Like
No,
they
they don't.
don't. I mean, like I gotta be honest. I Do you ever feel partially responsible for this because of the reason that they don't make these anymore is because of the superhero boom? Like, is this our fault?
I think yeah, I think it's the superhero boom and it's the social media. We can just watch stuff on YouTube and streaming boom. A combination of those two, and yeah, so people aren't going to the theaters, and so they're not gonna spend money on a Jerry Maguire, or the chance of a movie like Jerry Maguire being a hit are way lesser. And it's also the movie tickets are too high. Like I really wanted to go see Looney Tunes the day the Earth flew up this weekend, but I was like, I can't justify the price.
Hmm.
I cannot do it. And I wanted to go see Mickey 17. I'm like, I can't justify the price.
Hmm.
I can't
Yeah.
do it.
Which
So
I heard that one was I heard that one wasn't terrible, but like comparatively to Parasite and what was this? It was Snowpiercer.
mhm.
Mickey 17 is probably his weakest at this point. Is what at least what I heard.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about it. So um yeah, this kind of makes me worried about the next Avengers movie. If this is
This is what makes you worried about the next Avengers
well,
movie.
I mean, we're kind of like, oh, the Russo brothers are coming back. Oh, they're getting the writers back. Oh no.
Yeah,
I feel like this felt a lot like they were cashing a check. They're
yeah,
getting paid to make it just we'll put the minimum effort in, and if they want to spend 320 million on us, great. We will take the money. So yeah. And it's a
yeah. I
shame because this guy's artwork deserves better, you know. His
Apparently it got better because I was talking to my dad about this. He's actually seen Tales from the Loop, and he said that that was fantastic.
Yeah, so that's going to be our next week we're going to do the Black Panther comic book run, and then the week after we will be doing a review of Tales from the Loop. It's available on
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime, so yeah, I'm excited to check that one out.
Um, yeah. I Now I will say that so here's the thing. I do think that the Rousseaus have been a little. They've always been hit or miss. I think that they just got. I'm not gonna say they got lucky with a good string of Marvel movies, but kind of. Um, but I do like that one movie they came out with, The Gray Man, with Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling. So that's also on Netflix.
Hmm.
So if anyone hasn't caught that, I think that's pretty good. Um, from what I can tell, um, I think that the Rousseau brothers just do espionage really well. Um, which, if you look at like Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Civil War, very much espionage, which makes you think, oh man, was Infinity War and Endgame? How much of that was James Gunn?
I think MCU's like you gotta look at James Gunn's input. I think them getting rid of the comic book writers room was a mistake.
Yep.
Them advising, I think when they got rid of that, that's when the chinks in the armor started to appear. And it took a while for it to really fully hit. Like that was the first thing, and then James Gunn after that, and then you see the Emperor has no clothes. Kevin Feige is just you know, he's like, well, wait, I got rid of all the people that were making this successful.
Yeah, I wonder whose decision was that?
Kevin Feige's. He asked for them to be removed because they were getting in his way.
Uh-huh. I'm sure they were.
Yeah. That, and then I'm blanking on the name of the guy they got rid of. The head up guy that
Perlmutter?
Perlmutter, because he didn't want him to do Black Panther or Captain Marvel, because he didn't think either would be successful. And so Kevin Feige's like, well, he's got to go. So he was wrong on Black Panther, but he was right on Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you had to have that voice of reason. I'm not saying Perlmutter was perfect. He was pushing Inhumans like crazy.
Well,
But
yeah,
also,
I mean that was less of a well, because with Black Panther and Captain Marvel, that's just more of his opinion. Like, I don't think these will be successful. Um, the Inhumans thing, that was purely just a business strategy.
yep.
Like
Get back at
if you
Fox.
if you asked him, I'm sure he would have been like, yeah, no, the X-Men would be extremely successful,
Yeah.
but we don't make any money off of that.
Yeah. He was trying to cash in something else. I also think though that the Inhuman project got started while Perlmutter was there, and then once he was gone, but they like contractually had to do it at that point. They're like, okay, just bare minimum, just get rid of this.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it was so poorly done. Hollywood, man, there's so much politics going on. People backstabbing each other.
Yeah.
It's a miracle anything gets made, and yeah.
Well, you could say it's a miracle that anything gets made, but would you really call something so bad a miracle?
Well, I mean, let me put a
It's a
huge
miracle we get
asterisk.
it's a miracle we get anything good.
That, and I think as AI becomes more of a thing, it's not no longer going to be a miracle. Then it's really going to be a miracle if you get something good with soul in it, because everything's just going to be push a button, my movie's done, send it to the theater.
Yeah. Which I wonder if there's eventually going to be regulations on that, like being able to make money off of AI like that. I've just been curious about that.
The, if they can prove that the AI is using your work and its output, then I feel like there's something there. But how are you going to prove it?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in uncharted territory there. So it'll be interesting, more interesting than this movie was. So um, next week, I hope you all join us. We are, like I said, we're going to read some classic Black Panther. It's actually a book called Jungle Action, and Jungle Action Volume 2, 6 through 18. If you read along at home. This will be where we meet characters like Killmonger for the first time, so this will be, I think, a lot of fun. So
yeah, and then also keep in mind, if you want to discuss Tales of the Loop with us, it's 8 episodes, so you'll have about a week and a half to watch Tales from the Loop.
yep, and we promise it'll be better than Electric State was.
Yes, and if not, then I have to reevaluate my father's choices.
Yeah, well, I mean, just look at the Rotten Tomato scores; they are night and day on these. So
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I think that we we've gotten to the point where we don't look at actors anymore, and I think we've talked about this. We're like, we don't have movie stars anymore, right?
right.
It's either properties or it's directors. I think we do need to go back to looking at actors again. Like, if this actor's in this movie, then it'll probably be really good. Because I mean, as much as I like Chris Pratt as a person, he's he's not one that like he's not usually in good movies.
Yeah, he's kind of entering that Nick Cage phase where he'll just be in anything
Yeah.
and play the
So
same character over and over.
yeah, so we need to look at you know, is Brad Pitt in this movie? Then yeah, it'll probably be good. Is Tom Cruise in this movie? Yeah, it'll be pretty good. But like, I mean, we looked at this movie, we thought it was going to be really good because of the Russos, but we did not take into account that this starred Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the problem with movie stars is like I'm sure Brad Pitt demands a pretty big paycheck. And then if his movies don't do well, then it's like, well, I'm not going to hire a Brad Pitt because he costs too much and we're not going to make money off of him. And it's cheaper to get a cheaper actor. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. So, anywho, I think that's it for us tonight. So, until next time, I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We'll catch you next time in the Shark Pond.
See ya.